I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
I read them, but
Commissioners, bear with me tonight, I've got a little Bell's palsy and it's hard for me to talk, so, just please bear with me. I'm not dead yet. First on the agenda be pause.
For the month of February, we had 426 animals that were taken into the shelter. 28.6% of those came from county jurisdictions, 9.2% came from the city of Laverne, 47.4% came from the city of Murfreesboro, and 14.8% came from the town of Smyrna. We had 147 animals that were adopted out, 213 animals that were humanely euthanized, 63 animals that were reclaimed, and then our other outcomes added up to 30 there. So we had 453 animals that left the shelter. Our adoption and reclaim percentage for the month was 46.4%. Our euthanasia rate for the month was 47%, and we had a live release rate of 52.5%. Our pit snip and cat snip grants have ended. We started today working on the animal-friendly license plate grant. We have 106 surgeries through that program, and we're going to do those in-house this year versus the space stations. We can do them a lot cheaper and get more surgeries for the same money. We had 68 animals that remained in the shelter at the end of February. 2,010 people visited the shelter looking for a new or lost pet, and we had 1,618 calls or voicemails for the month. 1,469 calls were received, 1,494 calls were completed, and we traveled 11,763 miles. Year to date, we've had 5,339 animals enter the shelter. Our adoption reclaim percentage for over the year is 38.2%. Our euthanasia rate was 53.1%, and that gave us a live release rate of 44.7. We've had almost 12,000 calls into the shelter, and we've completed 12,005 calls, and we've traveled 91,161 miles thus far. On the bite report, we had 27 bites that were reported. None of those animals were tested, so none, of course, positive. Under our other exposure, we had 9 cases reported. We tested 4 animals, and actually that should be 2 tested positive there. You'll see those located below. We've had 3 thus far this calendar year, 1 back in January that tested unsatisfactory, and then we had 2 in February, 1 on the 14th and 1 on the 20th. Both of those skunks did test positive. Both of those skunks came into a yard, dog attacked those animals and tested positive. Those animals are under our home observation at this point. And then actually last week, I don't know that, it's not happened during my time, I don't know previous, but we had 3 skunks come in the same day, received the results in the mail, and all 3 of those tested positive from different areas. I even called the state to make sure they hadn't made a mistake. So we're up to 5 positives and 1 unsatisfactory thus far year to date. So we really need to make sure that folks are getting their animals vaccinated. It makes a huge difference. If the animal's already vaccinated, the state would typically allow you to do a home observation period for either 45, 60 days, those type things. If the animal's unvaccinated, their recommendation initially is for the animal to be euthanized. So it's very important for folks to get out and get those rabies vaccinations.
Is there anything else that we should be doing in the county?
As far as for the rabies, there's always going to be rabies there. I mean, I would be more concerned if we were seeing it in something other than wildlife, which would be very, very rare. It's always going around. It's just, you have to look at January, February, early March. Those are skunk breeding seasons, so they're out, they're roaming more, those type things. So the biggest thing is, like I said, the vaccination of dogs and cats in the county. The rabies clinics will be coming up in April, but if your animals do, you need to go ahead and have it done before the rabies clinic. It's not worth saving a couple of extra dollars to put your animal or your family at risk.
All right, any questions on his report? If none, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I think you got a budget amendment.
Yes, sir, I do. The first part of the amendment is moving money around from our attendant line item to our part-time personnel and our overtime pay. This should get really close to putting us right where we need to be at the end of the year. The second portion of that is we're asking to take $1,000 out of our Paul's donation line and move that over into other supplies and materials. We had almost a $500 donation specific to purchase a camera for our adoptable pets. To go along with that, we need some lights and those type things, so I'd like to pull the other money out of the donation line and be able to do all that in one project. And then the third part of that at the bottom is recognizing the revenue from the training that we did. It also recognizes a $2,500 grant that we received towards the training from the ASPCA, and it puts that back into office supplies, which has some expenditures, and then putting the money back in the drugs and medical that we were originally pulled from to start with. I did get word today from finance, they did receive another check for a donation for that training, and I've got one that's supposedly in the mail as well, so that'll put us right back where we should be.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the request.
Got a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, discussion.
Can we just add what you got today into it, or do you got, is it better just to wait till
Well, I
later?
know I've got the other one coming as well.
Okay.
If the other one comes before finance, would you all have a problem if I took it directly to them?
Just carry it up. At the same time you do this and be
Yeah.
fine.
Okay, that'd be great, thank you.
All right, there's no other questions. Call the roll.
Commissioner Pease,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes. Is that it?
That's yes, sir.
Before you leave, I want to tell you publicly that I appreciate what you did and what Cameron did out in my neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
That was a quick response, and it probably took care of somebody from getting bit.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to tell you that I appreciate the
I
work y'all
appreciate
did.
that. My folks do a great job, and I appreciate
Or
that.
anybody else that's involved in that situation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, before I go any further, at some point, we're going to be talking about next month's meeting, but I wanted to let it be known, if it's okay with the committee, that since we're going to be doing the sheriff stuff, if we can have a consent agenda on, since all other departments are already here that may not be having to come, have a consent agenda where unless the reports are approved or disapproved at the first, just reports only. But if we're going to be doing a budget amendment, they'll need to show up at the next month's meeting. So if that's okay with the committee, so either say somebody had to show up that all they got is report. So,
I think we're all good with
right
that.
out with that? Yeah. Okay, all right. All right, move right along. I wanted to say that while everybody was,
Yes, sir.
departments were ready.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You have my report. Just want to hit a few highlights here. Like I said, this past month, we've been working on a few things. One thing is the PSAs that we started for RCTV. We've been working with OIT to get those complete. The sheriff's done one. The police departments from Murfreesboro, Eagleville, and Murfreesboro Fire and Rescue. These PSAs are related to our Alert Rutherford, get people to sign up. Also, another note is we did help out with the special kids race this past Saturday by having the MCC there to help with command and control of the race. It worked out pretty well. On the second page there, we're still working on the 2012 grant, but it's not that big a deal. We have until May to spend it. What's left is $168.09 split between the sheriff's office and SORT. And the only problem is trying to find something, small dollar item that meets the needs of the grant that they can spend the money on. And they're working on that right now. I like to spend every penny they give to us, so trying to get that under control. The bigger issue is the 2013 grant. We received the contracts for that back in October. The mayor signed it in November. We sent it back up right after he signed it. And we still haven't received the executed contract, and that's $140,000. $140,196. Don't know why. I've been told in the past we should have had it back by now, the executed contract. So I don't know if this is related to the changes they're going through at TEMA at this time.
Could be.
Probably. That would be
Could
my
be.
guess. As y'all, some of y'all may not know, TEMA is, looks like they're gonna move from being underneath the military department to being underneath the public safety and homeland security department.
Don't know yet.
Don't know, but that's a guess. That's educated guess, sorry. As far as responses, there were 3 times we were called out on the scene. There was a tractor trailer on the 23rd of February, had a fuel spill. I went out there, did the usual, had them get their cleanup company out there and dug it up, and they took care of that. We also had unknown substances in some water bottles on the 26th that was near Blackman High School. It was not related to the high school, but was out in that way. And we ended up calling because we could never identify the red substances in these water bottles. We ended up calling the meth task force to take them away because we think it was harmless, but you know, who wants to be the person that makes that call? So we had them haul that away. And we also had what looked to be a hazardous materials leak on the 27th at the Lowe's truck stop in Christiana. It ended up being this was a regular tractor trailer rig. He did have hazardous materials on board, but not reportable amounts. But what was leaking was not the bad stuff. What was leaking was some glue that you use to hold flooring down, that type of thing. But at the point they didn't know, they just saw a leak. So nothing real bad on any of those. Some items of interest, of course, our tower project. The microwave equipment is installed at Tiger Hill, Milton, and Smyrna, and as of last week, so are the dishes at each of those sites. A few days of good weather helps people climb towers. They don't like to climb them in the wind and the rain. Go figure. I wouldn't want to either, by the way. Entry reports at Smyrna site are also complete. Jail electrical begins this week. Remember, we're putting a tower on the top of the jail, and that electrical portion of that is beginning this week. The only hiccup we've had is the structural inspection for the Nolensville tower site failed. And what that means is there can be nothing else hung on that tower. It just won't support. It already has quite a bit of things. Joe Gurley was already thinking ahead, and we're looking at the WTN tower, and he met with him today to see about the possibility of putting our equipment on that.
But it will withstand the limit that's on there now? Or if it failed, it failed?
Yeah, it failed.
So there's-
There's some issues there.
What's on it though?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can get that back to you. But we can't add anything else to it.
It's not our tower, is
No,
Did we add something on to it?
no, we haven't. We
Oh.
asked to add something
Oh,
on to
okay.
it. And when you do that, you have to do a study to find out if you
Right.
can add more, and you can't.
Oh, I was thinking it was, we added something to it, then it wouldn't. okay.
No.
it? Do we have anything on it?
No, sir.
It was gonna be a freebie for us to put something on it, is what you're saying, basically?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, it wasn't gonna be free, but it was gonna be inexpensive.
We wasn't going to build a tower.
Yes, sir. And that's what you wanna do in these cases, because the tower's a pretty big bill, as you can imagine.
Right.
Where's the Smyrna site?
It's owned by MTMC, off the top of my head,
More
Moore Hill, there you go.
Where's that in English?
in northern part of Smyrna.
Oh, the part of Smyrna. Okay. Thanks.
Who owns that tower?
Which one?
The one that failed?
I'm sitting on my phone, y'all. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I'll have to go back and check, but we've already moved on.
But do they know it failed?
Yes, they know. And that's, like I said, it doesn't belong to us anyway.
Okay, I just wonder if there's any structures around there or anything that could cause some life safety issues if it was to.
Yes. It's just, there's a limit on the tower as well as the pad, the structure, there's how much you can put on in this stuff.
Was the Nolensville Tower, was that supposed to cover the Eagleville area? Or was there a different tower down there?
Hudson Road?
Is that gonna cover the, is that gonna be, I
Hudson
thought
Road.
I thought there was one in Williamson County that was supposed to.
It'll cover some of that over in that area, and this was the one, but we're gonna look at the WTN tower
Okay.
to pretty much project back in this direction.
I know, cause out there in Eagleville, you can't,
Yes, sir.
it's,
Well, between what we're doing with what was supposed to be Nolensville Tower as well as the Hudson Road Tower, we should be able to cover that.
Eagleville and Reedville were the two big trouble spots for years.
And what Joe's telling me now, it's not gonna throw us off because he halfway expected this to happen.
Okay.
Okay. The decon training we've been doing with Mercer Fire, we already did one iteration on the 14th, and the 21st we did another, and the final one will be for the third shift on the 28th. We also rolled the MCC out for the Community Helpers event on the 26th at Bellwood Preschool. We have a big decon exercise at the VA Hospital on the 9th of April planned. Teaching an ICS 300 class, primarily to the Laverne Fire and Police Department. They requested it. We're going to teach it at Station 3 on the 23rd and 24th of April. And we're getting into the planning from the emergency services side of it for the air show. And they're having their first meeting on 14th of April. Subject to any questions you have, that's all I have.
Anybody have any questions? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report?
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is, fire and rescue.
We had a total of, from the first of the year to Friday, which is the 31st of March, we had a total of 260 calls. And then for the month of, since the last public safety meeting or the day after to last Friday, we have a total of 96 calls. And then we had several brush fires this weekend across the county. Us and several other departments responded to quite a few wildland fires. Somehow or another, my NBA report got omitted, but we had a total of 32 calls with an average response time of 6.9 minutes.
Just going down.
Well, it varies. It
Yeah,
depends on a lot
usually
of,
over 7 minutes.
yeah, a lot of times it depends on how far you have to run out Interstate 24
Yeah.
to the 94-mile marker. And if you don't have any long runs, usually that kind of throws our times off. Next sheet is the consolidated water report and training report showing all the departmental training hours and the total calls from each department, which total countywide is already at 490 calls to this date. So our call volume is increasingly. Training hours were total for the county was 1,368. And then the next sheet is the report we give to the codes department on homes that's had structural damage that will require a remodeling permit. And then starting April 4th, we're gonna start another recruit class countywide. We offer to all the departments, but it's gonna be a 86-hour class, and then after that we'll have a week-long education class, and then after that we're gonna start another emergency first responder class. So a lot going on in the summer. And that's my report.
Any questions on the report?
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Appreciate it. Correctional Work Center report, how you doing? Good.
Start off with the last board meeting. It was on the 10th of this month. Approved the minutes from February. Board was presented with a state letter pickup report, count analysis and budget spreadsheet, board bill work release program, etc. And there's also a budget amendment that was presented to the board that I will present to committee. Motion was carried to approve the minutes. Captain Cope discussed, we have a grant with, that we are included with CADCOR, Volunteer Behavioral Health Guidance Center. It's applying for a grant. Our part is just to be a facilitator. It'll be actually the site they'll be using for the grant. The grant will cover mental health for our inmates, behavioral issues, and also reentry. Once again, CADCO will do all the paperwork and follow up with the grant, and all we're doing is being the site to facilitate it. Other business, we discussed the census and see if we can increase our inmate transfers from the sheriff's department, and I think those discussions are ongoing, and hopefully we can, both censuses are down even there, so hopefully that'll be able to be increased as time goes on, especially for the spring and summer months with a lot of outdoor projects coming up within the county. There's also a report for the work release program, an overview since we started going on 2 years ago, and that's included. We'll discuss that. And Comcast, there was an issue with them encrypting the local channels that we were getting with some of the county agencies. With that being said, the OIT department came up with a way to alleviate that, and it then includes getting a HD antenna, and the cost will be split between us and the juvenile detention center.
I thought and somebody else maybe have to correct me or something if I'm wrong, but in our agreement with the cable that the Rutherford County has got to provide, I thought giving those channels and stuff to the counties, agencies, was part of that agreement a few years back. Does anybody know?
I don't know if that predates me, and I haven't really looked into that, and we can ask.
For some reason, I'm
Well, I think
thinking,
they're the ones that
uh,
actually.
going back a few years here in my memory bank, but, because I think whenever they did it with the city of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County, there was some kind of agreement that they provide the infrastructure and the cable channels to the.
At some point, I think you're right, and I don't know, something, as the years went on, something must have changed.
It doesn't turn left on us or something.
Exactly.
Do what, Mike?
But that's correct.
Yeah, I thought it was, you know.
So, it is what it is there.
I would check with Mr. Robertson, because, I mean, had he known that, and he was here, I think,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure when they put that in place, we wouldn't have to be making this little patch, you might say.
Yeah, because it was part of us allowing that agreement for them to come in here, best I can remember.
I think it was the county attorney's office that negotiated that.
Yeah, I believe,
You
yeah.
might check with that office.
But Brian has been the primary person linked to that Comcast agreement, so he should be informed. So I'll have to check with him.
Yeah, 'cause I'm saying some of that money was having to pay for Channel 19 and Channel 3 for the city and different things, so it's,
We need to look into that.
yeah.
Okay, another issue, one of our long-standing employees, she retired effective, Friday, March 14th. Just told the board about it, and we had a reception for her. That was, Michelle Collins, Captain Cope, noted, Sergeant Hugh, he's our training sergeant. What a great job he's doing, inviting other counties to participate from, and I think I discussed this the last meeting, with all the local agencies, and it's been a really great reception where they are taking advantage of this training, because it's part of what we do for our staff, but let's invite them to be part of it too, in Cannon County, Bedford, Coffee, we've seen as far as Trousdale, so they all taking advantage of it.
What's that costing us?
Nothing, because all we, and like I said, it's already scheduled for our people. We
We're
have,
not providing them materials and
No.
books and things like that?
No.
Okay. I don't mind helping them, don't misunderstand.
Oh, yeah,
But if
no,
there's a cost
it's not costing us.
associated, I wanted to know it.
it's all right, it's not costing us anything. And that's the minutes for the last board meeting. State litter pickup, we collected 1732.59 for the month of March. Yearly report reflects average census. Like I said, January and February, you see 130, 140, that's the average. Entered about 77, 74 for those 2 months, released 81, 60. Average work crews going out of 56 and 61 the last couple of months. And then it shows incident reports, GD program still going strong. We talked about the new testing they have for that program. Everything's going good with that. DUI litter pickup, still going good. That's about it on that report.
Well, that nurse call number seemed, the nurse actually saw 625 people in the month of February.
Right, cause they do it daily, so and then some of them are repeaters also, so it's, you know, even if they see them for a medication or maybe they might have a bug or something, they come back that day, so that's why. As long as they seen by, they have to document it, and so that number will reflect on that.
So they won't go for just to get out of
Yeah,
the
work, they
lockup,
have to,
you know,
exactly.
get out of work.
They have to go see it, get
Yeah.
a doctor's note.
Yeah.
Work release program, still going strong. We had 12 in the program this past month. Go down to the notes. One inmate completed the program, was hired by Presco Tech in February. And that last what I have for y'all, I think y'all should have gotten it. Reflect some of the time the program actually started. And I'll give you those numbers in a second. To get through this here. This is the monthly worker report. This reflects the amount of money being saved to the entire county with work crews and including at the Correctional Work Center. So the month of February was 116,672. The work release program, this is a little report we comprise. Matt Burgess said we should present this to the committee to let y'all know how it's going. Provides gradual integration back into community, gainful employment, accumulation of savings from paid employment, preservation of family and community ties, participation in self-help programs, opportunity to continue paying child support fees, fines, and housing costs while incarcerated. They must meet these stringent criteria to be placed in it. They go through a committee, and then shows the employers that are involved in the program right now. Swanson Christian Products, Interlap, Presco Tech, and Metal Max. They just joined us about 2-3 weeks ago.
Does it cost them to get into this program?
No.
It don't.
And this is the statistics from June 2012. We've had 62 enrolled, currently 10 in the program. Total participants successfully completed the program is 32. Hired full-time upon release was 26. And then ones that were released in the program for minor infractions, I mean, you know, we hold them to a higher standard, so there was 9 of them that didn't make it through the entire program. Because of job performance was 11. And we have 7 who are reoffended after release. So just wanted to let y'all know, overall it's a success.
So basically, the 32 that completed it, 7 has had a recidivism.
Right.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great program. I'm glad we started it, and you know it's going to grow. We have a lot more. We're in talks with another big employer in town. They probably want 2 or 3. So the word is getting out about it, and they're really getting with that HR and that corporate to see if they want to get into it. And it's a great program. And that's that until I address my amendment.
How do they get to where they're working?
We're doing the transportation, and we're charging for that.
I would think that an inmate at the work center would be less costly than an inmate at the jail. Would I be correct in that assumption?
As far as
How much it costs today to keep them incarcerated?
Well, overall, I mean,
I mean,
I think it balances out because of what they do while they're there. You know, giving back to the community, like, you know, like I said, saving the county, municipalities, 116,000. You know, that's for that month. It's going to increase in the spring and summer. So yeah, and then to me, so because of that, I would say, you know, it works because we are more like an alternative sentencing program, where the judge, you know, these guys, we classify them in misdemeanors, DUI, some domestic assault. So when they come into that facility, their main objective is to work and go through programs so they don't reoffend. And adding the work release, that you see those numbers, it even enhances that. Because, you know, you can see a light in them, they're really productive. And plus, they, you know, 26 got hired full-time, that's a big deal for them. You know, otherwise, if they didn't come to us, they just, you know, spend some time in jail and go right back out to society.
You said on the report today, for example, okay, January you had 130. And in February you're showing 140 head count average.
Yes,
And the work center holds roughly 250.
correct.
Okay. So if it had, say, 240 versus 140, that's not gonna be almost double the cost out there, because you got certain fixed costs that are gonna be there, whether you got 100 or you get the 250, right?
Correct.
Any more questions on the report? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion on this report.
Motion to approve.
Got a
Second.
motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries, and you got to work on, budget amendment?
The budget amendment is,
Rank as a sheriff, keep it up to date.
since '08, I don't believe we have purchased any new mattresses since this facility was open. So we're requesting to do so, and we're requesting to move 7,000 from 399 other contracted services into 411 prisoners clothing to furnish those funds.
You've heard the request, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second, discussion? Don't see any, call a roll.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes. That it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the OSHA report. How you doing?
Good afternoon. Doing well, thank you. To report for the month of February, the county had a total of 17 injuries that required medical attention. In your report there, you see the breakdown. Of those 17, combined with the month of January, brings us to a total of 38 for the year to date. Of those 38, 20 of them were OSHA recordables. 17 had restricted days, 2 with lost days, and 1 with all others. When you look at the next page of your report, you'll see the graph that kind of depicts the 2 previous years to this year. As you look at that, it looks a little bit higher. Of course, I always tell you it's kind of cyclic and goes up and down. I can tell you that for the month of March, we're down. And in fact, as of today, when I did my numbers, we are exactly even with this same period last year as far as injuries for the total for the 2 years. So we're down right now. Of course, we still have to finish out the month, just like we had to finish out the month for last year too. So don't know what that'll be, but at least it is on a downward trend for this month. The total dollars incurred for the month of February is $18,500 for those 17 injuries. The Board of Education had 10 of them, and the total dollars incurred were $11,100. The county general had the other 7 for $7,400 of total incurred dollars. And then if you'll look at the next page, you'll see where those injuries were between the sheriff, juvenile detention, animal services, and the correctional work center. Last page of your report, just totaling out the total incurred dollars. You'll notice that for this year so far, our total incurred dollars are $56,000 through the month of February. Of course, as always, those dollars are in flux simply because the claims have not been closed out. They could go up, could go down. Most likely will go down as the claims close. Are there any questions? at this time?
Where was there were 2 of them in a motor vehicle? Was that due to car accident?
For the month? Yes, sir. Where were they? Let's see where they were.
I'd say.
I believe one of them was in the sheriff's department, and I'm trying to determine whether the other one was in Paul's or not. I don't recall. I'm not sure where the other one was.
That's all right. I just,
Thought I know that they were both in county general, but I'm just not familiar
Right.
with where. I know one was sheriff. It may have been both, but I can't say right sure right now.
okay.
Sorry.
It's all right. Anybody have any questions on his report? If not, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now, I'm gonna bring it up to the sheriff department report. And, then we'll get into the budget stuff. How are y'all?
Good. Thanks for letting us. Go ahead. I'll send that down there. Okay. Kitchen at the jail needs some food prep supplies, so, for the first go-round, and I may have to come back next month and do some more, but for this point in time, we're gonna pull 12,000 out of our maintenance equipment line item on the jail side, and then 2,000 out of our other equipment line item on the jail side, and put that in food prep supplies. And then we had a check come back from insurance recovery for our cars, and so we're gonna put that back in our new vehicles line item on the sheriff's office side.
Check come back from,
Where car was wrecked, yeah.
oh, from, was it from an insurance company?
Yeah.
Insurance company check bounced.
No.
Oh, I
That's
thought-
what this money came
Okay,
back, yeah.
all right.
No.
I was fixing to say,
That would be something.
yeah, that's why I get surprised.
Yeah. And so
You've had a
those are
couple of
the-
those recently, haven't you?
Yeah, the weather hadn't helped on that too much, so, all those things. That's all I've got for general fund,
When you see the check come back, I just,
sorry.
Are we doing them together or separate?
No, the other one's a drug fund.
all right, let's do them
I guess,
separate.
why not?
Let's do them separate, since it wasn't drug fund. All right, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the request.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. Our discussion. Call roll?
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
Okay, the second page, for the drug fund, we had, for income, sale of equipment, 12,000, and then, also income of restricted for public safety, 28,000, which totals 40 grand. We'd like to move that from the drug fund into the, general fund overtime operating account, is what we'd like to do. And then, of course, the related benefits that go with that.
All right. Coming out of the drug fund to the general fund, I mean,
Yes, sir.
what's it for?
It's our way of being nice. Last year we absorbed the drug fund people into the
Okay,
general fund.
Yeah.
Well, their overtime for this year has come to about that. And we think that drug dealers should be paying for our narcotics guys overtime. So we're gonna give that money back to the general fund
okay,
for overtime. So basically, drug dealers are paying for all the officers' overtime.
okay.
The other question is that's a legal thing to do?
Yes.
Because this is one of those
Yes,
Right.
because
things, if you told us, you'd have to shoot us.
yeah, pretty much. But no, this is legal, and we can do it. And it's
Yeah.
making sure that drug dealers are paying for.
Okay.
We don't have to do it, but we just thought it would be a good thing to do for the
Right.
county.
All right, is that all you got on that one?
Yes, sir, that's it.
All right, you've heard the request, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second, discussion. Hearing or seeing none, call roll.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes.
Then we have our monthly report. I'm glad to entertain any questions you got there. It's getting down to that time of year where everything's starting to reach zero.
There's another one on here. Is that,
Another one.
we did that one first. What's that?
That's the one we just voted on. That's the one that had the drug.
Oh, that's where, okay. Sorry.
Whenever anybody gets through going over the report there, and whenever you're ready, I'll entertain a motion or any questions.
How many vehicles did you actually buy this year? Did you buy all the ones that were budgeted?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the money that's in that account now is just coming back from some of the insurance recoveries, et cetera?
That's
All right,
correct.
A little
That's
bit
correct.
probably left over?
Mhm.
Naturally, it usually takes about 3 wrecked vehicles, and we recover that money from those 3 wrecked vehicles, usually buys us back another vehicle.
So what happens to the wrecked ones?
The insurance companies buy them
We're
from
out,
us.
okay,
Yeah,
so
they-
they're totaled out.
Yeah, they total
Okay.
out.
Yeah,
Well,
they scrap them, I'm sure.
all the ones wrecked, were they the new Dodge Chargers?
No, we haven't had any of the Chargers
Okay.
wrecked,
All right.
or any of the new Fords wrecked.
Yeah. Exactly.
Knock on wood.
It can happen.
Food supplies is 15% of your budget left. Is that gonna be enough to make it?
That's why we just put some money in there.
Yeah, that was running a little low. We've had, with the way they've changed up the feeding, and the process of how they feed inmates,
It's buying the styrofoam trays. It's
Yeah,
really,
it's
really
wiped
what
out
it is.
those funds. It's averaging about 10,000 a month, and we didn't budget that much for this year, so.
You don't have anybody can wash dishes?
We don't have any trays. Everything's styrofoam. When we went to the new jail, everything went styrofoam. Or the new kitchen, yeah.
Styrofoam all going to Walter Hill?
Mhm.
Middle.
We're doing the same thing the school systems are doing.
Motion to approve the report.
All right, is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I do have one other thing, just to let y'all know and let everybody else in TV land know. On April the 12th, we'll be having a sheriff's office auction, selling some of our drug confiscated vehicles and other things. But also we'll be selling our county general, some of our old patrol cars that are wore out and all that, and some of the old fleet vehicles. So, and we've got some other equipment that the sheriff's office, we've been doing house cleaning and trying to get rid of. So we will have all that stuff open for auction. The county general fund stuff, from what I've been told, is open to everybody, even county employees can buy the county general stuff. Only the public is allowed to buy the narcotic stuff. County employees are not allowed to try to bid on narcotics seized stuff. So I just want to invite everybody out for April the 12th for the auction.
All right, before y'all, is that all y'all got?
Yeah.
While y'all are here,
Yeah.
we need to try to figure out
Next month's meeting.
next month, meeting, because it was at, you had asked something about having it at the jail.
Yes, sir.
And, next month, our regular meeting is April the 28th. And I'm not gonna be able to be here, but somebody else brought it up, that, you know, changing the date. What's the will of the committee?
We're changing the date?
No, I had said something about being out of town, and I think somebody brought it up.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
It was- yeah.
And, you know, I'm not asking you to, it's up to you all.
What's our choices?
Whatever you want.
I know a Monday and a Tuesday of all,
Are we gonna get bread at this meeting?
We can do whatever you want.
bread and water.
What's the 29th?
Bread and water.
Isn't it, it's the fifth Tuesday, right?
Well,
So
you'll
there
still be
shouldn't
out
be
of
any
town.
meeting on that Tuesday.
I'm gonna, that whole week
That doesn't
I'm
help-
gone.
Okay. Oh, so you're the problem.
No, I don't, you don't have to change it on my behalf, that's up to you
Okay.
all. Matter of fact, another commissioner had asked about it, and I'm not asking you to, it's, you know, it's up to you all.
I think if we can change it, then we should. But, I mean, obviously if we can't, then we can't.
I mean, the 24th of April
Property manager.
is a property management.
What about the 23rd? It's a Wednesday.
I'm open on the 23rd.
I won't be here.
Yeah, I remember you were gonna be out of town that week, weren't you?
Yeah,
I remember a little bit of it.
That Wednesday I can't go.
21st, I am in East Tennessee.
And I can't the 21st
Nothing
either.
that week of the 21st?
The
Because
20,
that's normally no meetings, I don't
the
think.
23rd and the 24th is,
We do have a meeting on the 22nd.
Okay.
the 23rd and 24th, as you said, there was the project management on 24th. The,
About the 29th.
that whole week I'm
He said
gone.
still going, yeah.
I'm going from Memphis to
About the 14th.
the 14th.
Will we have any business at that point,
I mean,
just right after the commission meeting?
well, the only reason we're doing it is the
Budget.
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 Nobody else will be coming back until, unless they got a budget amendment, you know, a department will have to bring a just consent agenda, that way they want.
So, are we presenting the sheriff's budget on that particular meeting?
Yes,
Well, we haven't even had the first meeting with the sheriff yet.
okay.
By April the 14th, it's not gonna happen, probably. So we need to have time for Lisa and I to have at least one or maybe two iterations
Right.
before we have this meeting.
So, with that being said,
What about the first week of May?
steering is on the 5th,
The 6th is election
Well,
day.
and 6th election day.
Well, the first, you're still out of town.
I'm in Pigeon Forge area on the 1st. That's why I ain't running for reelection. I'm all over the world.
What about the 12th,
12th of,
May?
That's good.
What day is that?
Monday.
that's Monday.
It's a Monday before the commission.
Well, that's, I was gonna say, that's the planning commission night, and commissioners, Jeff Phillips will be there that night.
I might be in Florida
I
that
know.
week.
I mean,
Guess we're gonna have to
Just
do
leave
it
it
on the
at 28th
28th.
that's
April.
what, that's what I was gonna say, I mean, it is what it
Regular
is,
time.
and, you know, I don't change it on my behalf, you know, I'd like to be there, but,
We'll make it work.
so,
Well, the 23rd is about your only other option. That's a Wednesday. You, commissioners,
I won't be here.
he wouldn't be there, excuse
What
me.
about the 7th? He's throwing numbers out there.
7th of,
That's too early for him to get
yeah,
his budget done.
yeah, they won't go,
No, 7th of May.
That's Public Works.
Public Works.
I have 100% confidence that the vice chair of our committee could run the meeting if the chairman isn't here on the regular scheduled evening.
Well, I
Seems
can-
like that might be the.
I concur with you.
easiest
I hate that you
way
can't be
forward.
here. I wasn't here at the budget for the sheriff
Yeah.
last year. I had a
Yeah.
conflict. It's just hard in April.
Yeah.
That's a busy, busy month for a lot of people.
But,
Well,
we
the
might-
problem is, we can still tell him, you know, we've sent it on the budget with a negative recommendation, just as easy if, the chairman's here as if not, right?
yeah.
Or a positive recommendation.
Yeah,
I
or
like
a positive.
I like
Okay.
positive.
Well,
Yeah, or you just send it on, just
Yeah.
like we did last year, just send it on, don't you?
y'all wanna do, or y'all wanna do the 28th?
Yeah.
I guess that's,
Sounds
Okay.
sounds like
All
that.
right, 28th of April at 940 New Salem Highway
Pigeon Forge,
at
it's a
5:30,
for him, isn't it?
same time?
Okay.
Okay. Only thing's changed is the location.
Yes.
5:30.
Okay,
That'll work.
all right. Thank y'all.
thank you.
Tour and budget meeting.
And, the consent agenda, just like we talked about before, okay. Unless you got a budget amendment for another department. Thank
Thank
y'all.
y'all. Y'all have a good one.
You too. All right. Drug court.
Where's this money coming from? Didn't he do something this year? She did. Some of her money's coming from something else. Last year, she was making money, right?
If you would for us, if you would just kind of, if it's okay with the committee just to continue like we did last time, to kind of tell us what it's gonna be over and the reasons why it's gonna be over or under on your budget. You don't have to go, if the line item is basically the same as last year, if it's over an increase or a decrease, kind of give us the highlights of why. Mayor?
Well, there are some overages and underages, but really there's nothing of any significance, period, on any line item. The salary line items are up.
Right.
Simply because we have step increases.
Right.
Past that, there's no change really. It's a continuation budget.
You can see there's only about $4,500
$3,000
difference.
$4,000 more than the current year budget.
And that's due to the salaries thing.
And yes,
What it says with, on line 205, item 205, is the insurance?
State retirement, oh, I'm sorry, insurance, yes.
Yeah, is that taking something into account that it's gonna go up because it's up a couple thousand?
we're,
No,
no,
we're-
we're hopeful that we're not gonna have any increases in the rate structure, but it's just sometimes with changes in employees, et cetera,
Oh,
when they picked a
okay.
different plan, this is the finance department's best estimate of what they will be. We will make adjustments to all of these when we actually get
Okay.
better information as we go forward through the budget process.
Well, I gotta ask another question.
Mhm.
Where's the money coming from next year? And where's the money coming from this year?
Y'all don't get this, my revenue worksheet?
Yeah, it's on the next page.
Okay, next page, okay.
The biggest amount, of course, comes from that state grant that, they get, the governor's appropriation, and the second largest amount is from the fees that are collected by the county for that Drug Court Treatment Act, that's $75.
Okay.
And,
And, well, what I'm getting at is all of these, because I know over time what's happened is, you know, fees have come in that weren't allowed before, like the DUI, and the numbers you put out there, you're gonna hit those this year?
I actually underestimated some of them, so I'm hoping that we might even do better. Like, for instance, with the LIOP and DUI school, that's starting to pick up again. We had a little bit of a controversy there for a little while. Somebody else started doing that when they heard about us doing it. So we lost a little momentum, but it seems to be picking back up, so I don't know what happened. And then the ADAT spot funding was reduced this year from the previous year, and I haven't heard yet if it's gonna go back up or if it's gonna stay the same as this
Okay.
year.
It is self-funding except for about $30,000.
Dollars, yeah, and that's about
Which
what.
is about what I asked for
Okay,
last
good,
year.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then I'll make a motion to approve, the budget and send it on to the budget committee.
Now I'll second.
A motion and a second.
But somebody else wants to.
All right.
Oh, don't fight over me, please.
All right,
Give it a
discussion.
third.
I just wanted to make sure you hadn't. I know, yeah.
Discussion?
Well, for the number of people she's keeping out of
Yeah.
the jail, is more than paying for this program, has all along. You know, if you look at this one is to our benefit to continue.
Yeah. There's no discussion. Other than that, we'll call a roll.
A couple of years ago, we had to add something.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. Is that it?
That is it.
Thank
I
you.
didn't even do a report today. I didn't think I wanted to hear about it. We are having graduation Thursday, however, if anybody would like to join us at 6 o'clock in the room next door.
All right.
We have 11 graduates this time.
Wow.
That's huge.
Yeah,
Yes.
So, feel free.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, juvenile detention. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Do your report first.
So we are doing reports as well tonight? I have them, I just didn't know if we were.
Yeah.
All right. So our monthly report in front of you is February. Happy to answer any questions about that report. I can report that we did receive our check from Madison in the mail today. It's not reflected on my report as I had already turned it in, but I did get the money from Madison. And any other questions I will happily answer.
Anybody have any questions on the report? Entertain a motion whenever you're ready.
Make a motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Got your budget now.
Okay. Do you want to know overall through the line items or
The overall, then if there's any increase or decreases,
Of course, our salary is up like everyone else based on the pay table. If you go on down beyond those into the 300s, 317 is up just a little bit. That's just going to be for our SoftTech jail management software has a percentage increase every year, and that reflects that. Dues and memberships is up just a little bit, although I may have overestimated that. I wanted to make sure we had enough money in case those memberships increased this year. Maintenance agreements went down. You will see on the second page that I'm asking for a new copier. Our copier is obsolete. He can't fix it anymore. So it's actually cheaper to maintain the new one than it is the old one at this point. That's why that went down.
Are we buying or are we leasing?
No, we are,
Purchase.
it's a purchase, yes. That is on the second page in line item 719.
You bought one, what'd you buy in 12-13? So prior year, it's showing at 3,961, which is your same request for this year. Is it in the wrong place?
1213, I don't,
on line
And
item
it's
719.
line 719.
That might just be
Is it
Typo.
put in the wrong place?
we didn't, no, actually, that was through our grant program. The Title I grant program got a copier last year, so that was from Title I funds. And it's the same
All
one.
state bid.
Yes. Second page, our maintenance line items are going down. Travel went up. We've been shortchanging ourselves on some trainings, and so that went up a little bit this year. Other contracted services, $399, went down just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to be increasing what we're getting from that ABL agreement. We're going to be adding an evening snack, so that's actually a good price from them. Our gasoline went up just a little bit based on pricing. And then other supplies and materials went down just a little bit because we did some amendments in the prior year. But overall, it's a little bit less than last year.
All right. Any questions on the budget?
Go over your medical and dental, that line item, just from the, again, last year, it was 48,000, and this year, it's 75,000 amended. Now, that has something to do with distribution of the pills and stuff, didn't we do something different in there?
We went from, last year, we started using Rudd Management, same medical provider that the jail has as well as the workhouse. And they are actually giving us more services than our previous medical provider did. We are getting more med passes and more sick calls than we did previously. And his price is based on population. If it's under said population, then it's the 75,000 a year, and if it goes over, then it would adjust appropriately, but I don't think it's gonna hit that.
And before, how did Care Here charge you?
Care Here, well, let me back up and also say that one of the reasons that we switched from Care Here to Rudd is that there's a new standard that we are required to meet. It's the Prison Rape Elimination Act. It's shortened to PREA. After many discussions with Care Here, the quote that they gave us to meet the PREA standards was considerably more than the agreement that we have with Rudd Management. So what Care Here was charging us previous was less than the 75, but it was not going to maintain at that low rate. It was going to be in the 200,000 range. So we felt real good with the 75,000.
You see, there's been changes over the last several years, and that's what happens when several of us have been on this committee for a while, and you got to refresh our memories as to why. But
How old is the building now?
The new building, we got into it in mid-2008.
Okay. Because we've experienced a lot of issues, of course, over at the jail. I'm just wondering if...
Our roof is an issue, but beyond that, we're in good shape except for our roof.
Any more questions on the budget? Entertain a motion if there's no other questions.
make a motion to approve the budget.
And got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, discussion? You have something you wanted to add?
Well, it may be time to bring up, I don't know how it's set up on the tablet, but I also have included, for information purposes, sort of what we're calling a carryover budget for our Title I grant. Title I grant is on a federal calendar. Of course, we are not. So there's a 3-month period where
October.
we kind of carry over until it starts again. So if you take a look at it and you're seeing it and you're wondering what that is, that's for the different calendar years.
So do you need a motion on both?
included it after this, we did this last year as well. I don't think so, it's just sort of informational.
Okay.
And one complete offering.
Okay.
So you get $29,522 more than what's showing on the budget request that we just talked about. Is that?
This revenue estimate that shows Title I grant 29,552, that is partial grant money. The rest of that grant money, that's for a portion of the year, and that's how she asked me to do it. So, the total grant money that we received this year was a little more than 80,000. So this is 3 months worth of that grant money.
And if
You
they
say
extend
she.
the grant, we'll have to modify the budget even, to reflect the full year, which we will do, but we can't do that until we know they're going to extend the grant.
Right.
Okay. So it's,
When you say she, you're talking about Lisa.
Oh, yes, sir, I apologize.
yeah. So basically, this year's budget's right now is, for all practical purposes, the same as last year.
Yes,
It's actually below.
a little bit
Well,
less.
1,000, right? When you add the 2920, the 29,000 to it, it's almost identical.
Yeah.
Okay. But at least-
Any more questions? We got a motion and a second, correct? There's no other questions, call the roll.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips? Yes. Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. Is that it?
Said it for me if it is for you.
All right, thank you. All right, the ambulance service, and let's see here. Do your report first, Mike? So what I was gonna do, that was B12.
B12.
That's what they started, when I called it, they shoot me up big time with that B12. Yeah, steroids too, so it's helping.
Guess you've had lots of energy too.
Oh, I have. I called Mike, 'cause I need some help.
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
We made 1,933 calls in the month of February. Average response time is 7.8 minutes. We had 32 coroner's calls. 13 of those were autopsies. We billed $1,195,286, collected $490,425. Our year-to-date collections, $4,158,845, and that puts our projection for the year at 6.2, a little bit more. We had $381,926 worth of insurance write-offs and $255,881 of collection agency write-offs. We didn't have any stations shut down. We did have one that was down for 1 hour. Other than that, the graph at the bottom of the page of the table is the mileage. We drove a total of 39,901 miles. And the fuel costs, maintenance costs, operating costs, cost per mile all figured in there too. And we had 509 out-of-zone calls. The next page is in-services and training. Have 9 of them listed there. We did medical coverage for 4 different special events. Pedal medics and the TOPS medics had no monthly training. Community relations folks were pretty busy with 11 different things that they did. And the SORT team had 5 different either trainings or call-outs there. Next page lists response times, transport times, and time on the scene for each of the stations. The next page is
number of calls broken down by commissioner districts. Also has national calls there, as well as the transport team, critical care transport team calls for the month. Following page is that same information for the year. And then the matrix page divides our ambulance zones, and then it defines how many calls are actually made in the zone and who they were made by. There's not anything drastically new that, we kind of know which way the trend goes on all those calls, and it's basically about the same every month. Salem Road actually made more calls than Burton Street, which is a little bit unusual, but not too much. We have, I think, 3 or 4, thank you, Mike.
Any questions on the report? If there's no questions on the report, we'll entertain a motion on the report.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, is there a second? Is there a
Second.
Second. Second, okay. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We got a budget amendment.
And then we have several, we're just trying to kind of get everything ready for the end of the year. And this should take it through the end of the year. We had some salaries that were actually adjusted by HR after the budget was passed last year. And so that has caused a little bit of an issue. What we'd like to do is to transfer $104,000 out of our paraprofessionals payroll. And of that money, $12,000 would go into the supervisor's, director's payroll, $80,000 into part-time payroll, and $12,000 into overtime pay. The dispatch payroll would be decreased by $3,800, and the office payroll would be increased by $3,800. And take $9,000 from uniform allowances and put that in our utility account.
You've heard the request. Is there a motion?
It's all within your budget, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Got a motion, is there a second?
I'll second
Got
it.
a second. Discussion?
Yeah. Where do you get these part-time personnel from? When you have them on, people on the FMLA and you don't have enough of your regular.
Actually, we call them PRN, which is just a medical term for as needed. It pretty much is part-time, but they're not scheduled part-time. But we use those people to fill in for vacations and days that we know that they're gonna be off. We try to use those people whenever someone calls in sick, but that's not always available because most of them have other
Good
jobs.
jobs, yeah.
So typically, we end up paying overtime for sick days, and the part-time people are scheduled for vacations and days off.
Okay. And these are, some of these are well, they're either EMTs or paramedics, right? Or-
Correct.
A lot of them are from a lot of other agencies like Metro Nashville,
Okay.
Norfolk
Surrounding
Fire,
counties and
you
stuff
know,
like that? Okay.
Bedford County, different ones.
Okay. I just didn't think that there was a whole lot of them in this county that's
Actually-
floating around, doing something else. That's what I
They're
thought.
they're from different agencies, and they all have full-time jobs. We have, one of the reasons our paraprofessional payroll was overfunded, if you want to think of it like that. We took one full-time position, and it's being filled by 2 paramedics that are full-time National Guard. And they work that out. One of them shows up, and it's worked out great. And the advantage, of course, in using PRN people is you don't have the benefits that you use.
Yeah.
We got a motion and a second on the floor, and if there's any more discussion, call the roll.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
There's one more. So.
Oh, there's one more, I'm sorry. Let's see here. Go right ahead.
We have, ever since we had to narrow band our radio frequencies, we've had some difficulties with the medics when they're in the station getting their calls, because of the interference of the metal and walls and bricks and so forth. And Joe Gurley suggested that would be better if we would put, basically just a mobile radio that was plugged into the wall in each one of the stations with an outside antenna, and that would prevent that from happening. The cost to do that is $12,000. So what we would like to do is to, we had a contract, a radio contract that we didn't use this year. And we would like to take $12,000 of that money and put it into our communication account. It looks like that communication account has a lot of money in it, but it's getting ready to not have much money in it at all, because we're getting ready to change out all of our radio system at our radio center. And that's $225,000 worth of equipment that's going in there. And as soon as that happens, then we're going to change our CAD, our computer assisted dispatch. Steve Smith is here tonight, and the reason that I asked him to come is that we're partnering with the E911 on our radio equipment. We're going to use their controller. I may be saying the wrong terms. I think it's a core, but we're going to use their core, which greatly decreases the cost of our radio system. And also backs up everything that the sheriff has. So we've got 3 systems here in the county that basically is backup. On our CAD system, we're partnering with the city of Murfreesboro on theirs, Visionaire, and we're installing the ambulance part of that, and that's saving us a ton of money as well. But what it all gets down to is a virtual consolidation of dispatch eventually.
With this portable radios, I'm all for it, because we've got one of these in every fire station. Commissioner Farley was the chief. One thing that they did as well, they went a step further with it, and they've got a battery backup system. So if power failure, I don't know if you want to get with the city and look at what they've got, but it's a great system. If power goes out, no matter what happens, that battery backup, it's not a generator for the station, but the radio always stays on, so you can't miss a call. You might have to open the bay door manually, but you can, it's just a battery backup system, and it's something you might look into, because you're more widespread and power outages can be.
Well, thank you.
All right, you've heard.
I'll make a motion for.
Okay. Got a motion. Is there a second on the request?
Second.
Got a second. Discussion? Seeing none, call roll.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. I call it a little, like a little lawnmower back.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's actually, I think, a battery like in a exit light.
Yeah.
Or emergency light.
Yeah, emergency light. It's the same type battery that's all hooked with it. So.
I don't know if y'all wanted any further discussion about, we're spending this money out of this year's budget to take care of replacing these radios that you're talking about for $225,000. Those devices and those consoles will be exactly the same that we have in the sheriff's dispatch area. So we'll have complete compatibility.
Right. And it's, that money is being used from that, is that county money or is it 911 money?
It's county money.
It's
on
county
that.
money.
Now, the communication link between EMS, dispatch, and the 911 office, I think that 911's going to take care of the communication piece of that.
Right.
And with the, I can explain this whole up there, and I can, but at some point, they can have the same communication link between 911 and the sheriff's office, so we'll all be linked together for virtual consolidation, virtual backup.
If one goes down, they can move to the sheriff's department or they can move to the 911 center. That way, everything is backed up to that, to each one of them. Right.
Everything's the same.
Right.
So the dispatch consolidation is virtual in that respect.
Right.
Well, there's called overhead you can consolidate, which is what I'm after.
Well, this makes all the equipment completely compatible, and so.
It also links together the three largest public safety answering points in the county.
Right.
If there was only one though, you could just reach across the desk and the phone calls dropped, would be a whole lot more effective.
I'm all for centralized dispatch, but centralized dispatch and consolidated dispatch are two different things. If you consolidate just because somebody wants the other person's dispatchers, then that's not centralized dispatch. If we're headed towards centralized dispatch in this county, whether people realize it or not, because City of Laverne, Mike Walker made a request to the 911 board that everybody who moved in the direction of replacing radios, that it be compatible with other people's radios. And that's where we're headed, and once we have that, then it is together. It's all
Well, if all three cities forfeited their dispatch, the county would have to fund dispatching for those three municipalities because it's coming under general fund.
Mhm.
Yep. You need to check it.
I don't know.
We're paying for the sheriff through county tax dollars, you'd have to dispatch it one way or the other.
You could actually have dispatch, centralized dispatch, and it fall under E911.
Yep, but the cities aren't gonna have to pay for it, because the city's residents pay county taxes as well.
It could be, but it could be funded through the E911, the fees that are on the phone bills.
Is that gonna be enough to cover it all?
It could be funded through that mechanism, and not cost taxpayers money. It would be costed as a fee base versus tax base.
If there's enough money there, we need to do that then. Save all the municipalities and the county a lot of money. If there's a revenue stream there. I know the 911 stuff is, the 911 that Mr. Smith does, that money's pretty much controlled.
Do you honestly think that the city of Murfreesboro, city of Smyrna, city of Laverne are gonna give up their dispatches? Don't think so.
Save $1 million a year. I don't know, I mean, I'm just, I think everybody having their own PSAP is ludicrous. Consolidated or centralized, whatever you wanna call it, combine them all is the best way. And for us to have two separate ones, it's just not effective. Calls get dropped. People get dispatched in the wrong place. You know?
All right, you got your budget? All right.
You want me to go through the whole thing?
If you would, kind of highlight the ones that are above, or excuse me, an increase and a decrease, and then the total amount.
All of the payroll is just,
But basically like everybody else is,
and of course, along with the payroll comes all of those other things. With longevity pay and that state retirement and insurance and all this kind of thing.
In regards to the payroll, and I think I've asked this before, you have two separate, obviously you've got an EMT pay, but you have a paramedic 1 and a paramedic 2. What's the requirement for a paramedic to go from a paramedic 1 or 2? Do we have only X amount of positions for paramedic 2? So they can't so they have to jump through hoops to get there. They can't, if they get that certification, they have to wait till there's an opening, or we're gonna pay them for their certification.
Typically, Commissioner Young, when that's happened, when we've had more people qualified than we've had positions, then we've come before you all, and y'all have always opened that up for.
I just don't wanna ever deny an employee. If they're working hard to get there, and then they're saying, well, we don't have a position for a paramedic 2, so we can't pay you as one until somebody else is out, that's wrong.
The county commission has never allowed that to happen.
right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I'd heard something about paramedic 1 and 2. If we only have paramedic 2s, that's just better for us, cause they're better trained, and that would be my goal. That's what I wanna see.
It's difficult to become qualified to be a paramedic too, but we have a number of positions for those, and it's the same way with paramedics and EMTs. You know, we have right now we have some EMTs that are working in paramedic positions. Is that correct?
Yes.
But the county commission has never denied whoever was qualified that pay. They've always just created another.
And I guess my thing is, I just don't want to be based on a slot. I want it to be based on the certification. If they reach it, they deserve
Well,
it.
it is based on certification.
Yeah.
Does that, you get where I'm coming
Yeah, I
from? though?
understand,
Okay.
but everything else on that first page is basically the same as it was last year.
All right.
That's not payroll related.
Tell 312. How did, you're saying that last year the 89,000, this year the 89,000 is covering your dispatch system, is what I guess I'm looking at, because you went up with the contracts, and you went up with maintenance contracts because of the new computer dispatch program that you got?
We haven't installed that yet, and we don't really know what that's gonna be. It could be that we don't have to have a maintenance contract on that for the first year, because warranty should cover everything. But since it's a joint effort with the county and the city already has it, we don't really know what that is gonna do. So we based a worst case scenario. Anything else on that first page you wanna talk about?
No, go right here, second page.
I think everything is essentially the same. Postal charge is down just a little bit. Data processing up just a little bit. Drugs and medical supplies up a little bit. Uniforms are down.
Basically, overall, the whole budget is down from last year.
We're not getting the vehicles we got last year, are we?
Well, actually, if you remember last year, I told you that there were several capital improvements in last year's budget that was caused it to be higher. And that was the radio and the building fund, as you recall.
What do you call them? When they need ambulance? Monitors, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not quite $1 million less, but it's almost $1 million.
Right. Anybody else have any questions on the budget?
You are replacing 2 ambulances this year, though.
That's correct.
And some supervisor vehicles that are really high mileage.
Maintenance truck.
And the maintenance truck, which is also high mileage.
Anybody else got any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'm gonna make a motion on something. I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the budget minus the dispatch until we can get something back from the sheriff to see what the cost would be in consolidating the dispatch. I don't know how you would do that since the money's incorporated together. I mean, obviously you've got your dispatch radio operator positions, but there's gonna be some other associated cost with that wouldn't be included in there. I'd just like to hold off on that until we can get something back and not finalize anything yet, so we can look at it. Everything else in the budget seems to be well in place.
Let's see if I can get a second on the motion. All right, is there a second to the motion? Is there a second to the motion?
Oh, I'll second it.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second.
I've got a question.
All right.
I'm not saying I'm opposed or one way or the other on this, but if we consolidate, are you talking about putting them in one building together? Okay, is there room at the sheriff's department to do that? I don't think there is in the current, you know, are we looking at building another building to house these people and consolidate these consoles and things that we're buying? Because there's not room in that communications room that I see.
We have
Unless he's
the only
got-
building that was actually built for dispatch. Our building was built for dispatch, and it was also built to expand.
You're talking about the current one you got over there by the school board, is that right?
And the only thing I'm asking you for here is let's hold off on that. If the ambulance service keeps their dispatch this year, because that's what's right, then we do that. But let's look at it and study it. Let's get the sheriff together, let's get the mayor together, let's get the ambulance service director together and study it instead of giving excuses why we're not gonna do it. Because I'm tired of the excuses when this should be a common goal. And, you know, next month if we come back. But it should follow, you know, the sheriff under TCA is the public official, elected official that's overall welfare of the safety of the county. And they, by law, can have a PSAP. They have to have a PSAP by law, from what I understand. Or the sheriff has the right to a PSAP. Everybody else, it's a permission thing. We give you permission to have one versus
You may be
he has
correct,
the, he
but
has
I've
the
never heard
right
that.
and nobody can take
Never
it from
heard that
him.
anywhere. You might ask Steve Smith, he may not.
If you've got any more information on that.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little difficulty hearing. I'll be glad that you want me to come up and answer any questions.
Come up and just, if you would,
We're
Steve.
gonna need this money anyways, though,
Mayor.
right?
While we're talking about this, while he's coming up, going up,
Okay.
Steve, the money, there's no money for any equipment in this next year's budget. The money is already in this year's budget to replace the equipment that's outdated and needs to be replaced. So that's being replaced this year, in this year's budget.
I understand that. And I'm fine with that because if we consolidate dispatch, you're gonna have to have extra equipment anyways. But there's some commissioners that thought that when we did this, that was the goal, was to move towards a consolidation.
This is virtual consolidation, and then the next step, if you choose, or we all choose together that we wanna do that, then you can put them in one location. But there will have to be building changes, either to our building or to their building, either one is gonna take capital costs to make that happen.
What I would like to see is all the parties come together and discuss it and not, you know, I hate beating up on Mr. Nunley right here when the sheriff's not here to answer any questions, or vice versa, ask the sheriff any questions when Mr. Nunley's not here. All the stakeholders have to come together. But my question was, under TCA, the sheriff has the right to a PSAP. He can so choose, since he's the chief law enforcement officer, and then everybody else, for example, the EMS is granted one at permission of us allowing to have one.
The answer I'd give you, Commissioner Young, is that primarily that's a local decision. There are 100 911 districts. We've got 95 counties, but some cities opted out early on and created their own districts. So there's 100 districts across the state of Tennessee. I happen to sit on the State Emergency Communications Board as one of 5 911 directors that are nominated by our state association. And I can tell you for a fact that every one of them probably do something different. Now, if I'm answering your question about what is required, at the inception of 911, there was certainly some discussion, and the law was inclusive to allow any agency that was currently dispatching to retain their right to dispatch. So I don't know if that, I can't answer the question in terms of the legal as to how that relates to being a chief law enforcement officer, but I can tell you without question, in fact, that every agency that has ever dispatched or was dispatching at the time of the 911 legislation being enacted has the authority to retain their dispatch. So that's why you have, in some counties, you may have a small police department that the chief and the city administration felt that they wanted to retain their dispatch. So that's in fact why they today
If the
still
case
have it.
that you're saying, if that was the case, Smyrna and Laverne PD and Murfreesboro PD would have to fall under the sheriff's office for dispatch.
No, what I'm saying is, they have, the municipality is exactly what he's saying, they have their right. But Mr. Nunley's dispatch is a county-owned dispatch. so we can choose, because it's a local issue, is what he's saying. So if we so choose to fund it and keep a separate dispatch, a secondary PSAP, we can, or we can choose to consolidate. We can't force a municipality into it because of the act of what he's talking about.
What is the reason that you want to do that?
The reason? Well, when you have it under one roof and one administrator, they all meet the exact same standard. Mr. Nunley's got a standard set. No. They will. There's a class that grant money through his office pays for your dispatchers every year to get their medical dispatch, because we approve that through budget amendments. The sheriff's department gets the same money every year through training, but they use it for a different type of training, but they could use it and everybody could be trained to the same standard. I think if everybody's at the same standard, it's gonna be a lot better for the residents.
The state E911 board gives that money back to each one of the areas for training purposes only. They don't decide what type of training is to be given. They do it for training purposes only.
I understand that, but they can't, there's no reason why the sheriff's department couldn't, if it was consolidated, meet the same standards that Rutherford County EMS has for their dispatchers. It's very simple, all it is a class. It's not, it's not like it's going to paramedic school,
I just think it's
a dispatch class.
It should be the county mayor and the sheriff and Mr. Nunley here.
We need to get all the stakeholders together, and we haven't.
Actually, we've had this discussion with the mayor and the
But we
sheriff
haven't
before.
had a proposal presented to us to do it. We get stonewalled every time.
Well, the reason is because, there's never been an agreement. The sheriff will say that he supports consolidated or centralized dispatch as long as that's the sheriff's department. And that was the last discussion we had when we were planning on replacing their equipment last year.
I want to get it consolidated one way or another, and if that's what we've got to do, that's what we've got to do. I think, I just.
When you say consolidated dispatch, I think what you're talking about is just throwing everybody together. You're not talking about a centralized dispatch. Centralized dispatch is what I think you want. Centralized dispatch would have dispatches and dispatch every public safety
I want
agency.
one person in charge of dispatch
Build
for the
your-
county government.
Build a dispatch center, get all the cities.
I don't want to pay two supervisors to
Okay,
supervise
well, build a
dispatch.
dispatch center, put it under Steve Smith, hire a director to run it, and dispatch every agency in this county. That's
Well,
centralized
I
dispatch.
can't control the municipalities. I've stated that a dozen times. I can only control county government.
I don't know that you control county government.
No,
Commissioner.
as a commissioner, I can only have any say-so in county government. I can't control what a municipality does.
All right, that's it. Steve, you got something?
I just wanted, if I could, Mr. Chairman, to share with the committee, my role being here this evening was, I think, more related to some budget issues and some discussions about technology, and I just wanted to remind the committee that when the issue first arose, that there were some technical operational problems with the sheriff's equipment, radio equipment, and I think you were very involved with that, Commissioner Young, and spoke out on that quite a bit, and your concern, and rightfully so, as to the importance of that. The same issue was faced with the emergency medical services operations, and when the 911 district was approached about a solution to that problem, they took the wise choice and the wise road to have an independent consulting, just as this government uses for any number of technical subjects, to look at how do we solve two problems. The 911 district's position, I believe, from, I don't want to go too far and speak for my board, but I believe I recall this correctly, that we didn't want to take a shotgun approach. We wanted to solve both problems at one time. So the result of that study was, in fact, those stakeholders that you refer to chose the option that would create or put in place what we call and was talked about a little bit earlier, a dual communications electronics bank, as Motorola called it. The bid was issued through the purchasing committee for the sheriff's department. The emergency communications district actually contributed about $215,000 towards that project as a grant out of a total of about close to $500,000. That put one of those control banks, or brains, if you want to call it that, at the sheriff's department. Eventually, I think the county had the best intentions to put another one at EMS's piece out. And just what has been talked about earlier, that's a great redundancy and contingency plan, because if either one of those goes down, the other can operate off of it. In that interim, it became apparent that the growth that's going on here in Rutherford County, our backup center has a total of 5 seats. So we would be unable, as we serve all of the municipalities and the county. The city of Murfreesboro has grown to more dispatch positions than would be available in that 5. So the board allowed me and staff to proceed with working through the county's bid. We procured an additional communications electronics bank, and we put 5 workstations in addition, so that we've doubled our capacity. And the sheriff's department has the same equipment, 5. I believe what Director Nunley's talking about is buying those workstations within that budget that I couldn't hear all of the discussion, but so, you know, they've essentially saved half the cost of what the sheriff's department's investment was, but yet gained the full capacity for them to each back each other up, as well as bring the 911 backup center into that scenario. So that was my purpose in being here tonight, is if there are any questions I can answer about that. But we have the infrastructure in place. We have the high-speed leased circuits that we're using to transmit GIS information, monitor our voice logging recorders that we provide, all those things that we, through an interlocal agreement that the 911 district has with the county, to provide those certain things that 911 provides and we don't provide the dispatchers. Might also add that we are also have made the commitment to the county's major upgrade in their radio system to the tune of about $1.2 million, which is for, I'm sure you're all familiar with, the simulcast build-out project that Mr. Gurley's working on. So I just wanted to bring that information to you in terms of what.
I'll have to support you. The 911 board has been it's been a cooperative effort between you all and each one of the county agencies. And when the time of need come about, they stepped up to the plate with the funding over there. And I, for one, appreciate it, you know, for what y'all have done over there.
You know, we sort of have a model system here, because I guess just if you look at by virtue of the number of municipalities and county, you can only have 9 members, but we have the mayor or their representative at the table. We have the emergency medical services director. We have the fire chief for the largest municipality, Chief Gaines, and we have a citizen at large, and the sheriff. So, you know, all the stakeholders are there in that scenario. And I've got to tell you, Commissioner Schaefer, we just awarded a $128,000 grant to the Laverne Police Department to help them with their computer-aided dispatch CAD system, because we know that without fact, the next generation 911 in our industry is the term it's referred to now. You've seen the OnStar commercials. You've seen all of the technology that's coming about. That's going to flow through 911, and we're going to have more and more information that's going to be incumbent upon those dispatchers or call takers to be able to process. And so we're trying to stay ahead, not only of, you know, 43% growth between the census, but all of the technology that's thrust upon us from the technology side that telecommunications is. Right. I don't have to tell you, you know, we're sitting here, we didn't have this when I came here in 97.
Can the 911 board pay for an automated dispatch where, and you go to Indianapolis, they do it where they're so busy, they've got.
Generated?
Yes, where an ambulance and a sheriff's deputy get sent at the exact same time, instead of one getting sent 5 minutes and then one getting sent 5 minutes later, because that's happening. And care's not being given, whether it be a domestic situation in law enforcement, it's not, they're having to wait and stage, or the ambulance, the police officer's there and the ambulance isn't getting there because they were getting dispatched later. Is there something we can do that 911 can pay to make it where things are getting dispatched? Because that's one of my biggest concerns, is that things don't get dispatched at the same time.
Let me try to answer it this way. When the 911 enabling legislation was created in about 1986. You know, this is a whole new revenue stream. Back then, you know, the local governments could decide how much to put on each phone, and that money, by the way, we don't draw any funding from local government. We're solely operating on the fees, emergency telephone service charges, as they're referred to in the law. Now, to answer your question, early on, as you can imagine, when some people perceive that as a nice pot of gold, the state comptroller's office had to become involved and set some parameters there. In other words, if a law enforcement agency was pushing locally and said, you know, I gotta answer these 911 calls, but I don't have any money for patrol cars. I need you to buy patrol cars.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, we couldn't go that route. But there are limitations, there are revenue standards within the comptroller's office. I would answer your question the best way I know how at this point would be to say technology is an acceptable expenditure within the 911 funds. There are certain things we can't pay for, like I said, the vehicles.
Kind of like the drug fund. We can't do anything if it doesn't involve drugs. We can't do anything unless it involves 911.
There are some parameters there that have been set by the state comptroller's office in the past, and that's of course what we have to adhere to. But as we are audited, just like any local government annually, our budgets are submitted to the chief elected officials and the clerks of each jurisdiction, and you know, we're as transparent as it can be. So you know, we're always eager to have discussions and do what's best for Rutherford County.
Commissioner?
Well, start off by saying the reason I didn't second your motion is not because I don't want to see what it would cost us to consolidate. And I'd like to see, you know, some of the problems we might have. One thing is, I don't personally think we need all our dispatch in one location. If we do and we get hit by a tornado, then we're down and we're out and we don't have communications. So if we're separate, and there are a lot of corporations, I know one that I work for, we've got separate buildings just for that reason. If this goes out, we've got redundancy. And the other reason that I didn't second it was we're holding hostage some communications that are fixing to go out. It's the same thing that the Sheriff's Department had last year. We don't need to fool around with holding this money because these guys are not going to be able to dispatch if we don't keep that communication there, and you know that. But let me finish.
Go ahead.
I understand that you're wanting, you know, a report on this, and I'm kind of frustrated with it too because I've asked for the same thing back when I started here. So what I would recommend us do is do what we want to do with this budget, not hold his budget hostage, move that on, but address this as an issue. Our committee address it, whether we have a separate meeting and ask for us to sit down with those stakeholders and the mayor when we could put that together and move on with, you know, the budget itself. But I think this is a separate issue, and I'd like to see us, you know, yes, we need to discuss it, and yes, we need to decide, hey, how could we do that and save us money? If we could consolidate it under one group, whether it's 911 or the Sheriff's Department or the ambulance service dispatching, if that's going to be cheaper, then I say, hey, it's something we need to look at. But I'm not ready to hold the funding on this project because, one, we don't have the money for making these changes right now. If there is money, if there's changes that are required, it sounds like there would be.
I think you're I don't know how to say it. I guess you're misunderstanding what my motion was. It wasn't the money that was allotted for the consoles. The consoles are already approved and we're gonna get the consoles anyways. That wasn't it was on the actual dispatcher and operations pay and their line item. Just don't vote on that right now, which is because that theoretically you can move those positions over to the Sheriff's Department. That's the only thing in that motion. It wasn't about the consoles. The consoles are gonna get bought because whether they relocate to the Sheriff's Department or we keep it status quo, those consoles have to be bought.
Well, regardless of whether they're sitting over there or at the Sheriff's Department, you still have somebody to man it, and that's the money that it's gonna cost to get a man.
Exactly, but if we put it in his budget right now, nothing's gonna change because the mayor's not gonna bring it to this committee
If
to do
this
anything.
committee asks for the mayor to bring it to us, he will. That's my point.
I will, you know what, I'll rescind my motion and just move, I'd like to make a motion that we bring all party holders to the table to conduct a talk about consolidated dispatch with the mayor, Mr. Nunley, the fire chief, and the sheriff all here so we can discuss it as a group.
Mayor.
We'll go ahead first. I want to ask a question if you get a second.
Okay. Is there a second to his motion?
I'll second it, like I said,
That's better.
I wanna get this settled.
But I want somebody to define what consolidation means.
Well, see,
I mean, I
that's,
don't know.
that's part of the problem I've got too, is I don't know, and maybe that's what we need to.
Can you,
He's the second man.
Did you
Yeah.
rescind?
Yeah.
Is there a motion and a second for the budget?
Yeah.
Except for the dispatch part.
yeah, he rescinded that part.
No, I'd rescinded the whole motion.
You
Was there
rescind-
another one before that? For the- Okay.
No, the motion that was, first put up, and the second, they rescinded that first motion. So now there's another motion on the floor with Mr. P seconding that motion to have and the mayor's asked, can you define consolidated?
I guess we can discuss it at the
Well,
meeting.
no, he needs to have an idea of what you.
I'd like it, I want it under one roof, that's what I wanna see. I want one person in charge, where things get dispatched orderly, one doesn't get, things can get sent out, and we have some clarity there.
All right, Mike.
I think, I understand what you're saying, but I would have to say that I don't believe any delays in dispatch occur from the sheriff's department PSAP. We do have some of that, but that is gonna be addressed in this new CAD system. I look into those things, and I don't think that we've ever had an issue with the sheriff's department failing the dispatches.
You dispatch more than multiple agencies, correct?
I'm sorry?
You dispatch more than just EMS, correct? Or you dispatch county fire on medical calls?
We dispatch first responders.
That's,
But we
county
don't
fire on
dispatch.
medical calls, it's the same. It's the duplication of service, and we gotta start thinking like business. And if it reduces overhead out of your department,
Yeah,
it
but
makes your
what-
business
I'm
more.
just addressing your statement, Commissioner Young. You
it makes
said
it
that
more-
there was being.
it makes it more
there were being
efficient and
calls-
effective.
Calls dropped, and I'm saying that there's not any calls dropped between us and the sheriff's department.
Personally, what I want to see is just the cost difference. If we go to one roof under either you or the sheriff's department or the 911, is it gonna save us any money to do that? That's really the only question I want answered. If it is, then I would say, yeah, we need to sit down and look
I
at
think
that.
a
If it's not
centralized
gonna
dispatch-
save us money, then I
Centralized
think
dispatch
we're
would save
spinning
the
our
county
wheels.
money. But a centralized dispatch is a centralized dispatch. It's not just throw a couple of them together.
You got underground or bunkers that you can go to if you really want to look at it, so you don't have to worry about weather.
Well, we do have a backup dispatch center, Mr. Smith's location. It's a fully functional backup dispatch. So if we were hit by a tornado, we've got your office that was designed as a backup dispatch for the
But
county.
what if Murfreesboro's hit and ours is hit? Ain't so many people gonna fit in there.
Well, what if Laverne's is hit and Smyrna's is hit at the same time? I mean,
Yeah,
we're in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
we
it
can
can
what
happen.
if all day long.
Can I speak to that from a
Yeah.
technical standpoint just a little bit? One of the things that's happening, and you heard me say earlier, next generation 911. Right now, everywhere that a 911 call is answered in Rutherford County has its own processor on the telephony side, on the public telephone switch network where those calls come in. Next generation 911 is going to be a statewide IP network. That it will be using the same network that the NCIC ties, the TBI has gone to already. It will connect every piece out, 142 across the state. When we make our installation and make our transition here in Rutherford County, we will be putting one of those controllers in a leased space at the State Data Center in Smyrna, which is, I should know the level and the terminology that is, but to your question, and to your point, Commissioner P., it is a bunker. It's meant to withstand anything. So we'll have that protection, and we will have an additional backup at our center on Fortress Boulevard. Now, the good part about that technology is it allows us to take what has been conventionally a 911 operator answering position and put it in something no bigger than a ruggedized laptop case. And then when we plug into that network, those operators can take that call from any number of places. There's even been discussion in the days back when you come from emergency services, when the pandemic flu planning was taking place, you know, we had to worry about workforce showing up. You might literally have people having to dispatch from home. But we all know about how much more telecommuting and work in the general arena of business is taking place. So what we were hoping to do and want to do is work with all of these additional municipalities to have them identify a secondary point in addition to their primary. And if they put the power backup infrastructure in and their IT departments take care of that connectivity, they can sit down in a fire hall and answer 911 calls. Doesn't take care of the radio. That's never been a 911 issue. I mean, that's never been a 911 role, I should say. So we're trying to, you know, we have a great board and they all work. That's one of the things that my counterparts across the state ask me, how do you all accomplish so much that you accomplish? It's because we work together and because everybody's treated separately. It doesn't matter if you're the largest or the smallest. When you get new equipment in Murfreesboro, you get new equipment in Murfreesboro. Director Nunley referred to it. Our busiest PSAP is Murfreesboro. Our second busiest is the Sheriff's Department, and the third is the ambulance service because they are the EMS for the entire county. So just wanted to share that with you in terms of we're trying to think. I think we're trying to all think on the same page.
We've got a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any more discussion on the motion on the floor?
So what exactly are we asking the mayor to
Bring all the stakeholders together so we can discuss a consolidation of dispatch.
Mayor?
Well, I mean, if we bring these stakeholders together, that's gonna have to happen before we bring them to this group right here. We're gonna have to have multiple discussions with all of the municipalities and EMS and the sheriff, so.
It was within Rutherford County government, not within, if you wanna invite the other municipalities, you're more than welcome to.
I don't think we can look at the big picture of how this stuff really should flow and work, and we really should be moving toward the future without looking at the broad, total picture in this whole thing.
Why not let the mayor get with the sheriff and the EMS director and them discuss it, and then they get back with us and at some point in time and bring it back to the committee. I mean,
And we can
that's
even-
essentially what I'm asking.
We can even put somebody on our committee on.
That's essentially what I'm asking this committee is to formally ask them, get together, do something, and then come back to us. That's my
I
motion.
thought you were wanting them to come to here.
They can come
and
here,
have one
but they can meet
big thing.
beforehand. I don't have a problem with them meeting beforehand. They should be.
because I don't see no need for us to be involved in the meeting. You know.
Well, I want them to come back as a whole, so when questions are answered, that it's not a power struggle between the county mayor and the county sheriff of who gets in control of
I'll be
dispatch.
honest with you, I don't see the county sheriff up here with a struggle with the mayor, to be honest with you.
Well, over dispatch, I'd say if one says I wanna be in control and the other one says I wanna be in control, I wanna know why they should be
We
in
already
control.
know before the meeting starts that the sheriff says he must be in control, so we have to have that discussion with him first. There's no, right now, he's told us there's not any flexibility there.
Well, let's get the reasons why, and, I mean, you can give your pros, and he can give his pros, and we can discuss
Well,
it.
that's one of them three need to sit down and talk about
Well,
it.
I'm not telling them they can't,
Well,
but they haven't.
But you, well, I understood your motion, you're
Or they haven't
wanting
lately.
them and us to have a meeting.
I want them to come to us and explain, give us a path to it. Let's make it happen. Let's make this government better, more efficient, safer. I mean,
I'm gonna get an idea if it's gonna save us money, you know, and if they can get that between them and come to me and say, hey, we'll save money if we do this, or we won't, that's where I'm ready to sit down and do what you're talking about doing.
we can't even get a figure. They can't even get together and give us a figure over it.
I think that's what this motion's all about, and I think we can get
You're
an
right.
idea of what they're wanting to do, so.
Then let us decide as the legislative body, not be dictated by one or the other. You know, it's our job as legislatures in this commission to decide which direction we're gonna go. The mayor's not the president of the Rutherford County. He's more like the city manager like Murfreesboro. The city council dictates to the city manager what goes on, and he implements the plan. It's the exact same way. That's what the county mayor essentially is. It's not like you can veto what we want. We approve the funding. That's our method of being legislatures in this county government.
You ain't gonna give me a lesson in civics. I've been here for 20 years.
Well, I guess I'm still confused. If we want everybody to come next month, are we supposed to bring figures or a plan, or are they just supposed to come and answer our questions?
Well, the mayor, I talked with the sheriff and asked the sheriff at this meeting last month if he would put a proposal together in his budget. He met with the mayor, and the mayor said it ain't happening. I just wanna see the numbers. Show us the numbers.
Mayor, you got something you wanna say?
No, I don't think anything else is necessary. There are major capital costs, regardless of whether we locate this at the sheriff's office or the EMS. And we have to reduce those numbers, and we'll reduce those numbers in some way. We'll sum up those numbers. There are major inadequacies down there with respect to just electrical adequacy of power. So all of that has to be factored. We'll have to get some engineers, we'll have to get some other people to really explore the capital component. And then we can also evaluate, are there any labor savings in the process? Unless we reduce the number somehow, maybe one of us has got too many people, I don't know, when you put them together, you can save 1 or 2 positions. I don't know about that yet.
They're dispatching the same thing. County fire is dispatched by Rutherford County EMS, and it's dispatched by Rutherford County Sheriff's Department. It's dispatched by 2 actual agencies, actually dispatched. Whether it's a medical call or a fire call, it's getting dispatched from 2 separate agencies. If they're under one roof, it's consolidated. There's less confusion there because they're just getting dispatched right out the gate.
It sounds like what we really need is somebody just to come in, an outside agency to come in and look at it.
That's what I was gonna suggest, a
And-
feasibility study done by an outside agency.
If you want to amend the motion for that, then you're more than welcome to. It's got to be studied. I mean,
if we're gonna study it,
I think for the next budget year, you're gonna have to go ahead and budget it as is.
Right.
And if you wanna budget 100,000 or 150,000 or more for some sort of outside consultant study, you can put that as a part of an additional, somebody's line item.
The most logical, exactly what the mayor just got through saying and Commissioner Phillips just got through saying. I think that's the most common, effective way of getting the true, yes or no, to do it. Let's go ahead and fund the budgets the way they are tonight, or this year on the dispatchers. And then do some kind of feasibility study and figure out what the facts are. And then there's people out there that can do that. Unbiased decisions.
It's basically, don't mention it, Mr. Chairman.
Unbiased
That's basically
decision
what-
is gonna cost us about $100,000.
yeah, that's the only concern I've got.
What the thing about it is though, we don't know what's,
I'm looking 30 years down the road, not 5 years down the road.
well, then we
It's-
definitely need to spend $100,000 to have consultants.
And when we did this for the judicial building.
cause I'll be
it's
honest,
the
I'll
same.
be honest with you, I'm not saying that I'm for or against.
You want the information.
What I'm saying is, I think, Commissioner, that by doing this, and I don't mean no disrespect to you whatsoever, but I think by doing this tonight is more of a knee-jerk reaction instead of trying to base something on facts instead of,
Well, it's been a knee jerk for 4 years, and I've gone to the mayor every year about it.
Well,
I've
we-
asked the question every year about it and gotten nowhere.
Well,
And I want to thank this committee because this is the furthest we've ever gotten with it, as far as looking at it.
but there's ways instead of attacking somebody. I don't think don't attack the mayor. No, I mean, by doing that, let's do it logically.
We got to move forward somehow.
Well, we can do it without attacking people.
I'm not attacking anybody. I'm stating the facts.
Who put together this report?
Kimball Company.
And is that just Rutherford County? Was it just based for, a report recommendation for Rutherford County, what would be best?
You're correct, Commissioner Phillips. That was the course of action taken by the Emergency Communications Board, so that we had an unbiased, outside, professional
What
review.
year?
There's a copy of one that was done for Sumner County by the same people.
That's 168 pages, that's on consolidation. This one was addressing the problem with the radio consoles.
Right.
It's not vendor specific. It was, as said, unbiased and professionals to come in and
That's
look at what is your
What he was
status?
talking about, right.
What is the most cost-effective way to
Or Trumbull
address the
County
problem
did.
when you have two
That's-
agencies specifically
Oh,
in
what Hamilton
within
County
county
did.
government that have the same problem?
We ain't Hamilton County.
And the 911 board
Go look at it,
chose
it's
to
awesome.
approach it in a manner where we had to pay some accurate and technical information in which to base an informed decision on.
All right, we got, Mike.
I was going to ask the same thing that Commissioner Phillips asked, but there's also two other things that I'd like to just clear up. First of all, the emergency medical dispatcher is not just about taking the class. Those people have to have a license, they have to earn their license, and they have to renew that license every year through training. Is that not correct, Steve?
I believe that's correct.
And the second one is, the state law requires that the primary EMS service dispatch first responders. The first responders that are part of the Rutherford County Fire Department, we don't dispatch them to fires, we dispatch them to motor vehicle accidents and things like that. So that's why there's a dual role there. The sheriff dispatches them to fire, we dispatch the ones to first responders.
If the sheriff's department dispatched the ambulance service as a whole, that would qualify for them dispatching first responders, would it not?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, my point is that one agency could theoretically do this.
One agency, I visited a centralized dispatch in Clackamas County, Washington. They were dispatching 105 different agencies. They were dispatching agencies in Alaska. So you could have a dispatch, you could farm your dispatch out to somebody else if you wanted to for this whole county.
And maybe that's what we need as a study. I mean, this is something that, we don't need to go in two separate directions. The status quo to me is not kosher. I want to see something come back where we can look at it. And Commissioner Phillips, I mean, she's right on with, if maybe this is what we need to spend the study. I don't want to spend the money either, but we need to look at it and have a plan, and we really don't have a plan. We're going in two separate directions other than the consoles, and the consoles are.
I think you know that you and I have talked for several years about centralized dispatch, and I've told you that I'm in favor of centralized dispatch. Many years ago, when we started this 911 thing, Steve Lane and me recommended to the county executive, then John Mankin, that we went with a centralized dispatch. But the law enforcement people are the ones that didn't want to do that. And they gave every kind of excuse in the world why not, and so the county commission went along with the law enforcement agencies. That's why you have 5 different PSAPs in this county now. A centralized dispatch is a centralized dispatch. It's not consolidation. It's not just throwing groups together. You have people who are dispatching in different areas. Houston is the same way.
Rutherford County, EMS, Sheriff's Office, Murfreesboro PD, and Murfreesboro Fire, at one time was gonna go in a centralized dispatch. The city of Murfreesboro was gonna give the building out there where those, the school board's at now.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, everybody couldn't agree, and it didn't happen. Is that not fact?
That's correct.
Well, it's the art of empire building. Everybody wants to go in their separate direction. Everybody wants to create their own hierarchy.
Well, now we have 300,000 people in this county too, and it's gonna double in about 20
I just wanted to
years.
make one last comment because, I think the board I work for expects me to try to keep abreast of all the changes as quickly as possible. And of course, just like any other certification you talk about, I hold a certification from the National Emergency Numbers Association. So in my continuing education at those conferences, I purposely sought out to attend classes about centralized dispatch. And if there's one thing I want to leave you with tonight, is the most important that has come from that, and I think you can check it against anybody's. It's not as simple as rearranging people. The tried and true principle out of that is you need to allow at least a year timeline to make a transition.
And we probably need a study and a plan and not just going into it.
In some cases, if just for an example, you'll have different pay plans, you'll have different retirement plans, you'll have different agencies that are being serviced. It's not as simple as it may sound, of putting everybody in one building. And to Commissioner P's point, in 1999, 15 years ago, when Clarksville, Tennessee and Montgomery County was hit by a major tornado, Rutherford County went to their aid with our mobile trailer. And if you want to talk to somebody about their concerns of having all your eggs in one basket, you can talk to those folks there.
The thing with the dispatch is, I don't care who's in charge. I just wanna see it done. If we have the 911 board make the recommendation and hire who runs the dispatch, I just wanna see a plan put together.
Well, let me
But
ask
we
you
can't-
something, instead of us talking about this all night, I'd like to vote on it. And,
I'll-
you made a suggestion that we, hire an outside agency. If you'd like to make that a separate motion, I'll withdraw my second here, and, you know, you can take off with that.
Why can't we?
Amendment, she can add an amendment to it.
Yeah, but why can't we just look at what, the ones we had to come together, that put in there with the EMS and, the mayor and,
The one we
the
have.
sheriff?
We
Yeah,
have-
the motion we have, that they come back with, that, you know, be part of what they're looking at and recommending where we go
That might
from
be the
there.
recommendation, is that the three of them get together, or the stakeholders get together and say, we need a study.
That might be the outcome of this.
Yeah, that-
Why don't we just, instead of us making a motion and voting, let's just let them get together and bring us a recommendation, instead of us,
Needs teeth in it.
we don't, until we get a recommendation, we don't know what.
Well, okay, we can, have the motion in and put a time frame on it. That would make him happy. That's what he's wanting to see, Commissioner Young's wanting to see a time frame, because according to him, nothing's happened over the years. And he wants, he wants to hear something, be it good, bad, or what in
Indifferent.
between.
We,
Yeah.
we need to wanna hear.
Mayor,
Well, we sort of, 911 board paid for the study that has recommended the very thing that's been implemented already. The replacement of the consoles and radios at the sheriff's office with that control device there. And they had actually, they were talking about putting the same control device in the EMS department, but we're not gonna do that. Of course, 911 board's already done that, so I don't know if they did that study with any intent to see if we could put them in one location, Commissioner Young, or not, but they've already come up with the virtual, you might say, consolidation. That was part of, we paid, what, $25,000 to $30,000, I think 911 did, for that study. So the rest of it will be, do we want to put it in one location, or do we want to still go with this same conceptual plan that they've sort of recommended already, to have multiple locations, but not consolidated people, bodies sitting in the same place? I don't know what that tells you, anything or not.
well, Mayor, do you have a time frame where you could report back to this committee and say, hey, you talk to these guys and either recommend a study, or, you know, y'all come up with something and just report back to us on that? I mean, that's basically all I'm asking.
We can do that. I mean, I don't involve the 911.
I don't necessarily want to put
leadership as well.
an immediate time frame on it, I would like to see it if you could get it back by the mayor, or by the sheriff's budget, if that's possible, whether it be to fund a study, if that's y'all's recommendation, to fund a study to see how it would be done and how it would be implemented, that would suffice by me, but again, y'all need to get together and just bring us back something.
And, Mr. Smith, when do we have another 911 board meeting?
Mayor, our next meeting will be April the 17th.
Do you think the May meeting would be enough time for everybody to meet and bring back maybe how much a study would cost?
Would that be enough for the budget committee, if we knew that it was gonna be, if we were gonna have a study by the May meeting? Is that too close, or?
I don't think this is gonna be in effect before the start of the budget year.
Well, I mean, the study, if we funded a study, that's the only thing, not
Yeah.
consolidating dispatch necessarily, but just, if they recommended a study, we'd know.
Because it could be
They have
put,
several
it could be,
meetings.
it could be added in
It could be
June
added out
with
of-
no problem.
Yeah.
It could be added up to June
Right.
26th
Right.
for next budget year. I mean, if you wanted to put X amount of money in for
No.
that study.
Well, then,
All right, so do we need a motion, or
the motion in the second was for the mayor and the stakeholders to get together and come up with a plan. And if that plan's a study, if they can figure it out amongst the three of them about
All right.
what we need to do, they can report back to us.
would you read the motion that's on the
I
floor?
wanna give them
To
leeway.
make sure that we got this, what's written.
The motion I have is to bring all the county stakeholders to the table to talk about consolidating dispatch, including the mayor, the fire chief, the sheriff, and the ambulance director, and report back to the Public Safety Committee with a recommendation.
I think the mayor wanted to add 911. Is that correct, Mayor?
That's fine. Is that fine with you?
Yes.
Obviously, I'd like Mr. Smith involved with that.
Can we put in there, but the May meetings that we're not rushed?
That's fine, that's fine.
Yes.
That gives you,
That'd be
does
better.
that give you plenty of time
This
to?
other
Your April meeting
difficult
is at the
budget.
sheriff's department.
Yeah, I wanna give y'all time to
Okay.
come up with something.
All right. Does everybody understand the motions on the floor? Call roll.
Commissioner Pegg,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes.
That's the budget.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget as recommended.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second.
And,
And we didn't discuss the.
We- sorry, go ahead.
All right. Now, does anybody have any discussion on the budget?
I was gonna commend him for coming in cheaper this year on his budget and still being able to afford to keep replacing those trucks. That's important.
All right. No questions? Call roll.
Commissioner Pegg,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Farley.
Yes. Is that it? Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
7:35 is a big part.
All right. Let's see here.
That's what it is.
Looks like we're through with that. Is there any other business come before the committee tonight? Seeing or hearing none, we stand adjourned.